with that Eeon.
Ladies and gentlemen and ladies and gents, what we're going to do, we're going to bring this down to 9 or 7. We're going to let this play in the background, and it's going to play the entire time this video is up, and it's going to just keep repeating. It's the music that we're going to be putting on the, well, it's already up on the redressright.org site. We've updated that site, added a little bit more information. I'm going to lower the volume because it's being played through the software which we upload our website, which is called A4Disc Pro. Some of you may have heard of it, some of you may not, but we're going to bring the volume down just a little bit because I got to be louder than the music in the background. Now, this video is going to cover two things, but the main caption is going to be, we're going to be adding on more information, more, I got to turn that volume down a little bit more. It's in my ears, probably a little bit louder than it's in your ears, so we're going to go to 2. And look, I took it all the way down to 2. There you go. That's even better. Let's get rid of my icons. Ladies and gentlemen, this video is going to be captioned the Redress Update Contact Group. Even though the name has changed, we're going to call it the Redress Update Contact Group just for the sake of this video. We told everyone that we were going to be adding some more members. So we're going to be adding a total of 26 individuals to the account. That's 26. The first 26 people who are not part of the group, who were part of the group, who want to be part of the group, even if we removed you from the group because you violated the terms and conditions, and we're going to go over those terms and conditions in a moment, but you can still be added to the group if you're one of the first 26 individuals. We were going to have you send us a Skype request, but there's no way to determine who the first 26 are. So what we're going to do is we're going to give you the opportunity of sending us an email, and we're going to give you an address by which to send the email to. We'll give you that address at the end of this video. This is an address that we don't use very often, so this address will only be utilized for this video. Okay? Got it? Good. So let's start our conversation. Let you know what we're talking about. And some of the things are going to be a critique. Some of it's going to be criticism. And some of it's not going to be pretty criticism. But it's not going to be mean-spirited. I can assure you of that. I had a conversation with one of the members of the Redress Commission today. And I told the person, I said, you know, I articulated the whole point about using the hour-style money orders and discharging debt today in the group. And I could not have done a better job than what I did. And I am so frustrated that nobody got it. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to let all of you know what I articulated in the group. Turning up the volume so that I can hear myself, so that I can hear me the way you hear me. This song is so much appropriate because I'm hoping that I can get someone to understand how I feel. There are a couple of things that we're going to talk about. Let's talk about some things that I have not talked about and we need to talk about. Everybody, well, you got to send it registered mail. Any other type of mail is not considered mail. Well, we've gotten information that's two ways around it from our point of view, from our understanding of things. We're going to tell you, forget registered mail. If you want to pay less than the price of registered mail, send it next day service through the post office. Put a 45-cent stamp on the envelope, just a regular stamp. Make sure you put that stamp on their envelope, because when you send it express mail, that's the next day service. It's called express mail. When you send it express mail, it's going to cost you roughly $15, $16. Tell them you want a 45-cent stamp placed on that envelope. Just that simple. Or you bring a stamp with you and you place it on the envelope, or you go to the post office and you get the express mail. The unique thing about express mail, ladies and gentlemen, it gets there the next day or the day after, depending on the location of the facility and the time you get to the post office. But once you place a stamp on it, it constitutes mail. Amazing, ain't it? And it gets there the next day, and you have a tracking number. And express mail is handled similar to that of registered mail. Okay? That's what we're going to be doing, and I assure you, you have my word. We haven't done it yet. You know why? Because we just started this the other day. And today is Sunday. I thought of it Saturday after I left the post office. So I'm telling you, you're the first to hear it. Well, not the first to hear it, because I had a conversation with someone yesterday, right after I came up with the idea. And I said I was going to articulate that in this video. So we got a couple other things to talk about, but that's just to let you know, instead of you having to worry about getting those labels, those red labels, well, that's a bond number. You do know that's a bond. I'll have no proof of that. And until I get proof, I'm only concerned about sending communication out there and verifying it and having it under the UPU, the Unified Postal Union's code, where they're violating international law and federal mail laws. Okay. Since they know how we feel, let me let you know how we feel. And I want you to see where we were coming from in this communication today in the group. And this is the communication, actual communication from the group. We're going to do a select all, and we're going to make it bigger. My mouse is jumping all over the place, y'all, because it's a Dale. It's a Dale? Oh, Mommy, look, it's a Dale. Oh, it's a Dale. Why couldn't it be a Susan or a Jermaine or a Hansel or a Gretel? Why does it have to be a Dale? Sorry. All right. This is what, every time you just see a sentence without a header, in other words, a time or a name, this is a comment from someone else. So someone posted in the group, natural persons mean living souls in their terms. We have no income means capital. This was a statement that they put in there. Start searching for IRS history. This is another person. Every time you see a break, like a paragraph or another sentence, that means it's another person introducing this information. Start searching the IRS history. Anything they create has to be exactly same as Constitution of the United States of America. Now that N is something I put there, and that's when I was doing the editing, so that's my fault. Okay, now this is what I said, because somebody had posted earlier that we were not authorized to use their banking systems. And I wrote, we are not authorized representatives pursuant to the NBA, National Banking Association, and it says read above. And that's what I actually copied and pasted the person's comment. And I said, why not? The person writes this. Therefore, the association of in the ABA section, National Currency Act of 1864, and be it further enacted that every president, director, cashier, teller, clerk, or agent of any association who shall embezzle, abstract, or willfully misapply any of the monies, funds, or credits of the association, or shall, without the authority of directors, issue, gotta go back up, or put forth any certificate of deposit, draw any order or bill of exchange, money order, make any acceptance, assign any note, bond, draft, bill of exchange, mortgage, judgment and or decree, or shall make any false entry in any book, report, or statement of the association with the intent in either case to injure or defraud the association or any other company, body, politic, or corporate, or any individual person, or to deceive an officer of the association or any agent appointed to examine the affairs of any such association shall be deemed guilty of misdemeanor, and upon conviction thereof shall be punished by imprisonment no less than 5 nor more than 10 years. Sorry, not for a misdemeanor. Misdemeanors are less than a year. Okay, that's why it's a 1964 law. Interesting. Let me make sure you all understand. The ABA, the National Banking Association, was changed to the MBA. Oh, excuse me, I said ABA. The NBA was changed to the ABA. Sorry, I said NBA. ABA. The American Banking Association. That's why all banks have an ABA routing number. And you'll notice that when they changed the system, that's when they all received routing numbers and things like that right after they changed. But we won't go into that in this video. Alright. And for right now, I will tell you that I doubt very seriously if they had a routing number system under the NBA. Then the next person wrote, associations here is the bank of the people. So this is what I wrote, ladies and gentlemen. Let's say that act was created by Congress. Where does Congress get its authority? According to the 9th and the 10th Amendment of the United States Constitution, the authority and power is retained by the people. You don't believe me? Go look it up. According to the NBA, this is what the other person wrote. Natural persons formed the bank. Then I wrote, if the authority and power is retained by the people, and I say by way of affidavit that I am one of the people, and I declare that I am entitled to such a right and or position, and it goes unrebutted, who can challenge an unrebutted affidavit? Ladies and gentlemen, once I say that I am one of the people of the United States of North America, doesn't matter what some judge said in some stupid case. You cannot attest the Constitution to yourself because you're not party to that agreement. Judges have said stupid things like that, haven't they? And we have case law. So I'm rebutting his presumption by preponderance of evidence because I'm doing it by way of an affidavit. And you know what you cannot do in an affidavit? You cannot lie. That's perjury. And there is no protection from perjury. Without recourse is a protection. Won't go into that right now. But I'm just letting you know they cannot rebut my presumption. Because I say that I am one of the people. They would have to come out of their shell to prove that I am not. But they already said you weren't one of the people before you said you were one of the people. No, because my affidavit predates their presumption. And by the way, mine is an affidavit. Theirs is a statement. It's a big difference between a statement and affidavit. We won't go into all of that right now. Just want to see if people get the point. So let's continue with the conversation. I don't need to be part of the National Banking Association or the American Banking Association to conduct banking activities. The Uniform Commercial Code under Article 2 definitions explains exactly what the term banker means in today's commercial market. A banker is anyone in the business of conducting banking. Okay, the next person writes, banks is formed by the people. Means we own the bank. I am not really paying attention to that comment because as I'm speaking into the computer, that comment's coming in. So I'm already going next line, and it's putting this up into the computer. If the United States government says one is a foreign state, then the National Banking Act does not mean anything to that of a foreign state. That's what I was supposed to be saying. Wow. we own the banks, is what the next person says. Sorry, that doesn't make any sense, and I didn't pay attention to that one either. So I continue. If the United States government says that one is a foreign state, then that means that under international law, international law, see how it wrote that? Anyway, voice recognition. One may engage in commerce under international bills of exchange. So you don't have to go under the ABA or the NBA. You can go strictly under the UNICETRAL. Okay, the United Nations, forgot what that UNICETRAL stands for. Y'all just have to look for it. There it is right there. I said in the next line. Take a look at UNICETRAL. Then I said, it explains exactly what one must accomplish in order to write an international bill of exchange and to engage in a foreign commerce game. Again, according to the United States of America, all men are created equal, i.e., equal protection of law clause. If all are equal, then how can one make a rule that governs another? So I continue just a couple of seconds later. It is impossible because equal means equal and not a subpart. Sub meaning below. Then I say, now, this is my thinking anyway, and that's how I operate, and I would have it no other way. This is how I engage with the system on equal footing. If they can do it, I can do it. But it's not belligerence here. You're going to see that in a moment. Okay? Okay, so I just want y'all to stay with me so y'all can understand exactly what's going on. Notice what it says. As the governor of my own actions, I make my own rules. So as long as my rules and my governance, it's supposed to be mine, not Mike, and my governance does not infringe upon the rights, privileges, and or entitlements of another. So, I just decided, gotta go up. I skipped a part. That's the mouse thing, y'all. The mousy. Oh, we already did that. Let's go down. There we go. We're right about this section. Matter of fact, let's just do it this way. Okay. As the governor of my own actions, in other words, I'm responsible for my own actions. I make my own rules under common law. So long as my rules and my governance of myself does not infringe upon the rights, privileges, and or entitlements of another. So, I just decided to step in for a moment in this conversation with the individuals on Skype because I am really tired of people telling us we don't have the right to do, and then it's supposed to be exclamation mark. That's why I said the last part was supposed to be exclamation mark. Notice this. This is what someone else wrote right after. If we own the banks, all banks, Bank of America, Citibank, the workers in these banks are public servants to serve the public owners. Natural persons, according to the NBA rules and regulations, they are representing us by the NBA regulations. This is not the point. So I continue. The first thing that people told me when I started writing money orders was I did not have the right to do so. But Wells Fargo negotiated over $4 million worth of those so-called money orders. But if I didn't have the right to do so, then that means that myself and Wells Fargo are guilty of financial fraud, and I'm willing to go to jail if they go to jail. And I'm not joking, and I am not joking. I guarantee you with all of my heart, I will go to jail if every single bank I sent a money order to who negotiated it goes to jail with me. And I mean the CEOs, the CFOs, and the COOs. Okay? I joke with you not. But people have been telling me what I have the right to do and what I don't have the right to do. And if you notice, I haven't been listening to those people. So notice what it says. I say next, I am a firm believer in equal protection of laws. Even from a scriptural standpoint. That's the way it was always. Everything, justice was handed evenly. Tempered with a little bit of mercy, but nonetheless evenly. Many of you might know the story of Achan, and some of you may not know the story of Achan. But when the Israelites went into Jericho, Achan was told not to take anything. Any gold or silver was to be donated to the treasury, and everything else was to be destroyed, no matter what it was. Well, Achan took a gold bar, a nice little piece of garment, and he took it and he hid it in his tent. He basically stole. Do you know Achan and his entire family lost their lives? I thought that was so unfair. How is that equal protection? His family didn't have nothing to do with it, but yes, they did. His family concealed what had happened, and then when they had an opportunity to step away and let Achan take the blame by himself for his actions, they chose to stand by him, which means they chose to be put to death. So I am a firm believer in equal protection of law and a firm believer in everyone having a choice and having to suffer the consequences of their choices. So when I tell you today, and I am not joking, and anybody who knows me knows how serious I am when I say this, I am willing to go to jail and will go without argument if all of those CEOs, CFOs, and COOs who have accepted those money orders and negotiated them, including the members of Treasury and the Federal Reserve Bank, I am willing to go. I will spend time with them and we can talk about this whole system, and I will work from that facility. I have no problem with that. But I know that I haven't done anything wrong. Do you know why? Because I am a firm believer in equal protection of laws as well as due process. So I say, now notice this. The first thing one must understand when reading their laws is what protections those laws hold out for each and every person, man, woman, individual, corporation, fictitious entity, legal fiction, and so forth. So let me see if I can explain this before we go on. And by the way, I never heard this song before you heard me play it on the video. But I tell you one thing. By the time this video finishes, hey guys, you just got the biggest plug in the world for me. I like the song. And it's going to play at the redressright.org website for the next couple of weeks. At least the next month. Okay? Let me explain something to you. I explained this yesterday in the last video, so let me see if I can explain it a little bit better. Because I articulated it right here. You must understand their laws and what protection the law holds out for the legal fiction, the corporation, the legal name, the legal title, the legal entity, the collective entity, the corporation, the unnatural man, the natural man, the living man, the real man, the woman, the living woman, the real woman, all of those names, it doesn't matter. Do you understand that the law provides them equal protection? The Supreme Court just made such a ruling saying that corporations have constitutional rights. But wait a minute. Were corporations part of the original Constitution? And was that the intent of the original Constitution? Of course not. It was not. Now, if you don't believe me, go back and look at the writing of the original Constitution. They were trying to get away from stupid laws like that. Look at the First Amendment. See, that's why corporations have never been given the authority to arrest anyone, to sanction anyone, to try anyone, to convict anyone. Corporations have never been given that authority. You don't believe me? Go and check it out for yourself. Don't listen to me, because I don't know what I'm talking about half the time. At least that's what I'm told. I was told at one point that I'm a government agent. Sorry. I could not keep a straight face and say that. Look, you can call me whatever you want. Many of you have called me a lot of things. But to say that I actually work for the government, how could I possibly work for the government? That doesn't make sense to me, but if that's what people want to believe, then fine. I work for the government. Oh, we're just going to sample that little section right there where you said work for the government, and we're just going to have it repeated 15,000 times, so you'll be saying I work for the government, work for the government, work for the government, work for the government, just 115,000 times. I don't care. I really don't care. You can call me whatever you want. I've been called everything under the sun, to my face, behind my back. Like I said, the people here think I work for the CIA. They literally, well, they don't think it anymore because, I have introduced Tupac to them, and I've also introduced, Color Me Bad. I like Color Me Bad as well. I've introduced Bette Midler because, me and Beth, we go way back like a rose. Okay. And I've introduced Anthony Hamilton, Anita Baker, Stephanie Mills, Stevie Wonder, Herbie Hancock, just a little bit of Herbie. And Al Jarreau, my boy George Benson. I haven't introduced Larry Graham, and Larry Graham, I have a special fondness for my brother Larry. I introduced Prince, so I am not the person who they thought I was. Now they're trying to really figure out who I am because they really want to know why did I move here. And I literally told them to stay out of my business, that my business is not their business. And there are a couple people here right now to this day who hate me because I told them I don't want them knowing my business. But I don't care. All right. So this is what the other person wrote. We are owners of the bank. Excuse me? Which means we can write anything we want. Checks, money orders, blah, 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 blah. That's not even the point. That's not even the point. There's nothing that says we're the owners of the bank. Now, technically, because the power is derived from the people to create the laws in the United States, that doesn't mean we own the banks. But let's continue. I say the Supreme Court has stated that the so-called straw man has constitutional rights. But I can make a declaration saying that I acknowledge and accept those rights so long as they do not infringe upon my entitlements. And who can tell me I can't? Who can tell me that I cannot declare that I accept the Constitution? That I accept those rights for my corporation? That I am the administrator, grantor, beneficiary, and so forth of my corporation? Once I do it on the affidavit, they have to rebut it by a preponderance of evidence to the contrary. And they haven't done it on an affidavit because they can't. Because they would have to admit that corporate fiction is just a fiction. And then we can abolish it that way. So they will never be able to rebut my affidavits, not the way they're written. Now I go on and I continue. No, I wouldn't go as far as to say that we can write anything we want, because everyone is responsible for their own actions. You cannot write a check that is not backed by funds. And do you know why? Because they are the ones who invented checks. That's right, go and look at the history. Checks were not invented by you and me. We did IOUs. They came up with checks and money orders and drafts and site drafts and all of that. So stop thinking the wrong way. Start thinking the literal way. Stay back in 1858. Stay back in 1542. Think back to that time. So let's go ahead and explain what I meant by they're the ones who invented the checks. It says, you're starting to get the picture. If you're not the creator of something, you cannot then dictate the terms, the rules on how something operates. So then I say, okay, this is what someone else wrote. Invent the check by using our money. Whose money are they writing checks for? See, not even the subject. But let's continue. That's like somebody going into nature and telling a dog that it will have a rhinoceros as babies from now on. See, you can't do that. You don't have the right to change the rules of the game when you are not the one who created the game. Do you understand that, ladies and gentlemen? The banking system, we didn't create that. We didn't create the rules for that system. However, those rules do permit us to operate within that system, and we can manipulate those rules to our benefit. Let me see if I can help you all out better with the next statement. I told the individual when they talk about writing checks, I said your argument is flawed because we're talking about checks. They invented the term, they invented the policy. We cannot put our own thinking into this. We must utilize their thinking and apply it in a manner for which we fit within sight of their thinking. Then the guy said, their policy said the NBA associations for carrying on business and banking must be formed by any number of natural persons not less than 5. They shall enter into articles of association which shall specify general terms of objects for which the association is formed. These articles shall be signed by the persons united to form an association, and a copy of the terms shall be forwarded to the comptroller of the currency and to be filed and preserved in his office. Ladies and gentlemen, that doesn't have anything to do with this. If an association is formed, that's an association formed. Has nothing to do with me. I was not party to that association. I was not one of the members who formed it. So I continue the conversation. The courts are looking for you to produce an argument based on logic, not based on rationale. You see, there's a difference between logic and rationale. Any person can rationalize. I even did the video, rationalization. Any person can rationalize. Everybody comes up with an excuse as to why they did something they shouldn't have done. But notice this. And by the way, I am not saying that one cannot form an association, because one must understand what a natural person is under law. What I am saying is someone made the comment that we can and cannot, what we can and cannot do based on this law. Then the person says, what about the fact that 99% of all accounts are and can never be ours based on the fact that we can never create anything of them? Another of their masterful tricks. They conned us into consenting the account are ours when who made these accounts? In other words, they're saying that we don't own these accounts. They created these accounts. So notice what my response is. And also, understanding that the National Banking Association, there is no such thing anymore. That has been changed to the American Banking Association, the ABA. NBA is their law. I go by what regulates the bank. Who made the accounts and the account numbers. They did and do everything, every time. So I told them, usufruct. No, I wasn't telling them that's what they were. I realized that's what yous are. Anyway, if the answer to your question, usufruct is the answer to your question, that's how we can claim ownership, by being the authorized agent of the account. Now, this is what the next person writes. Just as you stated above, up there, Brett, who creates it owns it. So I have to clear that up, because now they're trying to take my words and use them against me. So I say, yes, but Ford, that's supposed to be Ford, created the car I drive. Does that mean that they own it? Again, the argument is flawed when you use your own thinking. My shoes were made by Nike. Does that mean that they own it? A woman's purse is made by Gucci. So forth and so on. We're not talking about shoes. We're talking about accounts, electronic accounts, phone accounts, etc. If we hire someone to work for us, since we own the banks, the worker goes and creates the fraud. The fraud is not created by the people. They conned us. Then the person says, who makes these accounts? So I say, the issue here is the logic. Oh yes, we are talking about shoes. We're talking about boats. We're talking about cars. We are talking about it all. Accounts is no different from a pair of shoes. Once one affix their signature to it, they take subpart ownership of the account. In other words, when you set up an account, if you don't think you're the owner of the account, notice what I say. Did you make any of these accounts or account numbers? So I said, go back and look at the account. Call the bank and tell them you need access to that account. They will call it your account, not theirs. Don't believe me? Go and ask. Your electric account numbers, you work for them now, huh? That's what the other person says. You sat and made your account and the numbers associated with it. Then I say, call the bank. Just any of you, just call your bank and ask them about the mortgage account number that you have on file with them. They will ask you, what is your account information? It's yours, but you don't know how to articulate that, and so they will assume ownership. They all belong to the people, including the Federal Reserve Bank, which is not the point. We're not even talking about that anymore. I saw someone put a quote in here to today, it's supposed to be today, about how a judge says, the other day, it's supposed to be the other day, about how a judge says that you don't own the account, that it's not your account. It belongs to the bank. And if you listen to that ignorant judge and his single-minded opinion, we would walk away believing that. Yes, they trick us into thinking that it's yours and you pay their taxes. Doesn't have anything to do with what we're talking about. I have evidence of money created by the people counting heads. It's supposed to be, I think, county heads and our lords. So I continue. The judge does not make the law. And I agree with you. They receive the authority and the power to create all of this from the people. And that is the point. They can't in one breath say, we made this for you, and then the next breath say, you can't use it. Usufruct, people! The issue is usufruct. That is the correct spelling of the word. Look it up. I did a video on it. What's his name? Dean Clifford has talked about it. Look it up, people. Just like they've tricked us into thinking that the name is you too. Well, look, people, they haven't tricked us. So, look what I say. Wait a minute. They didn't trick us. They did not pull the cover over our eyes. I know you say wool over our eyes, but I'm saying cover. All credit sitting in the Federal Reserve Bank belongs to the natural people according to the NBA. This person is still talking about the NBA. Not the subject right here. Okay. Notice what we're talking about now. Everything they did, they put in writing. Everything they did is right there in the laws from the very beginning. This person here who wants to continue the other conversation says, I give up. I can't convey what I'm trying to get across in text. Excuse me? Okay. So I went on. And yes, all credit belongs to the people, but the Federal Reserve notes do not. The Federal Reserve notes do not belong to the people. The Federal Reserve notes are a copyright protected item. So you got to understand who owns the copyright. The Federal Reserve is a foreign corporation, thus not subject to the laws of the United States when it comes to their property. This is what the next person says. Excuse me, and I want you to understand how this is not the subject, but this is what they say. I told Bank of America that I am the creator. They ran away and replaced with a debt collector. Yeah, okay. Ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to myself, if not the issue, it's not the issue of convincing me of anything. Because I will bring forth an argument of both sides. Because that's how I think. But no one, not the courts, not my mother, not my father, if he were still alive, even if he could tell me what I didn't have the right to do, because he wouldn't have the right to tell me that. If someone else had the exact same right, if they can do it, I can do it. Again, the Equal Protection of Law Clause, look it up. It is one of the first things one should learn before engaging in any legal battle. And there's another good clause, and it has nothing to do with Santa. It's called the Due Process of Law Clause. These clauses are there for your protection. Don't you all understand that they cannot create a law without providing you a remedy? That's why every law there is a loophole. A way out for them, but the same way out for them is the same way out for you. Let's see if I can explain it this way. Everybody knows that a taxpayer is a United States resident, an employee of the United States government. See the Buck Act. Everyone knows that a resident alien is a servant of the United States. The United States, in every sense of the word, owns that person. They passed mine to the Specialty Loan Service. They're still talking about that other thing about somebody saying whatever. I'm staying on topic. Everyone knows that a person who gets naturalized as a United States resident citizen is owned by the United States. A servant. The next person says, if a bank created, we our bloody efforts called money, and we deposit and form the bank. That bank belongs to the people, and I am careless what the bank crooks say. I am part owner of these banks. Again, not the subject. They foolishly sent me to someone else to dox when I'm a different subject. Both of them. I'm clear on what someone else may have owned, but don't see what that has to do with me. Okay, that's fine. So notice this. That being the case, you must get an understanding of what their definitions are. But just because they have a definition for a word that they did not create does not make that the definition for that word. We do not have to go by their definitions. They did not invent the language of English, Spanish, Mandarin, Russian, Hungarian, German, and so forth. Legalese is their language that they invented, that they created. So when you use their words, you have to stay within their guidelines as set out by the creator of their words. Nationality Act of 1952 state that we are nationals, U.S. citizen, natural persons. Again, not the subject. So it goes on to say, so I see that others don't want to continue to have this conversation. So I am going to leave now to finish updating my site. Have a good day, all. I do, just commenting, sorry. This is the person telling me they appreciate the conversation. The other person says, it's fascinating, keep going. Then this other person, I found the NBA stating that the account belongs to the natural person. That is me. I am alive. Woohoo! Okay. I do not give about what the banks say. The law defined who is the owner of the National Association. So the national associations are being put in charge of the trust. I have seen the account name a national person. Again, this is what they did. So I came back in a couple of minutes. Another person wrote, UCC 2 has been moved to UCC 1-3008. Okay, and they got it from the Copper Moonshine Stills, which hasn't really been updated in a while. And one person wrote, I've known that for years. This person who put it in the site says, look, I just got it. So they talk about the capital name. So I write Dorsey, just putting a name in there because I don't want to put her name there, or his name, or their name. The information about UCC 1-308 from the CopperMoonshineStills.com site has not been maintained or updated for a moment. It would be suggested that some of you look at the bottom of the web page to see if or when the last time the site, last time on some sites, because it's not on all sites, was updated. Any information about UCC 1-207 being changed to 1-308 might prove beneficial to others, knowing that laws don't just fade away but are just replaced by other laws and reworded to say the same thing. The person says, okay, they seem to play the shell game the same, and I write, look, all personal views aside, they're not playing games with the law. Their laws prohibit them from doing so. All of their laws they must make available to the public. So they're not hiding anything. Because of the internet, under Clinton, a bill was signed that provides that they must provide access to laws online. Don't you all understand? That's how we know what's going on in the first place. Because they have provided the law letting us know what the collective entity is. They have shown us the law letting us know how the banks are operating. They have produced the executive orders letting us know about Agenda 21. It's because of their laws that we have a clue as to what's going on. That's why we are posting laws like the United States Code and the Uniform Commercial Code and the CFR, which is the Code of Federal Regulations, and the National Banking Act / American Banking Act. It's because they have written it all in law. I go on to say, you have a lot of people who think that they're trying to hide this from us. No, they're not hiding it from us at all. Yes, it's obscure. Yes, it takes some digging. But if you type in a specific phrase in Google, you will find exactly what you're looking for without having to search through the entire code. Their policies, their procedures say they must provide remedy. They must give you access to that remedy. Yes, we still have some things that we have to figure out because none of us went through 8 years of schooling studying that stupidity. Their codes are extensive, but nonetheless, the Fair Debt Collections Practices Act is 28 pages long, and the title page and the concluding page are of no use whatsoever, so it's officially 26 pages long, and a wealth of information for all debt collection issues. The Fair Debt Collections Practices Act literally protects you more than it protects them. So they have done a very good job of making people think that they're playing games, and the judges don't help people because they're prohibited by their rules and their policies from helping you. Remember, it's a group protection of law. They cannot help the attorney, and it's about protection of law. They cannot protect the attorneys, and they cannot help you. Just because the attorney knows one avenue of how to get to Pennsylvania Street, and you only know how to take the freeway, and their freeway, call it the information highway, is gridlock, and the attorney takes the side street and he gets his point across, it's not no one's fault. If you knew how to take the side streets to get your point across, you would utilize that. Basically, it's this way, so that you all understand it. When you walk into court, the fact that you don't know the laws or even know the basic foundation for their laws is not their fault, because they put the laws out there. They didn't make it easy for you. The attorneys went to school. They went to an organization who said, hey, we're going to make it easy for you. Come on in here. All right. Oh, no. Usufruct? Oh, we're going to talk about usufruct the entire season. Oh, straw man? No, we don't talk. No. Oh, you mean the legal person, legal fiction, legal name? You mean the corporation, individual, entity? Oh, yeah, we're going to talk about that all season. So, no, you just hold on. Huh? International banking laws? Well, they ain't got nothing to do with us. We're going to talk about the international bills of exchange. We ain't got to worry about them stupid laws. Them stupid laws is for corporations. No, we ain't going to be worried about all that. Uniform who? Commercial code. That joke, oh yeah, we're going to deal a little bit with the Uniform Commercial Code. But the Uniform Commercial Code is not law. It's just a code that they put in place for them to operate by. But it's not international law. No, it's law of commerce. No, we're going to talk about merchant law, but the Uniform Commercial Code is only the United States. It's not the world. No. Don't let them tell you. See, they go to school to hear all that. We didn't. So where everything is put in place for them in one location where they can get all the information, it's all streamlined. They don't have to go search all over the world for the information. It's not that way with us. But you know, some idiot put up a website called redressright.org, and then he did a /PDF and put up a bunch of PDFs that helped people with so many different areas of things. I mean, a tremendous wealth of information there. Pretty much everything you need to get started with whatever you're trying to do. If you're trying to start your own business and helping people with this, bam! But nobody's paying attention. So, because they know how to get from South Central Los Angeles to Irvine, and they know which freeways to take and which freeways not to take at a certain time, and they get there faster than you, it's not their fault. Well, technically it is their fault that they got there faster than you, because they knew what they were doing. So if you're going to mess with these individuals in their arena, okay, bring your own ball. But if you're going to bring your own ball, you still have to play by their rules. I've told all of you that before. When I used to play basketball, I was 155 pounds in the 7th grade. Okay, where most kids were like 135, 120, very light. Then by the time I'm in the 11th grade, I'm 195 pounds, and I'm solid. Well, when I played basketball, people used to literally try to run over me. I'd stand up trying to take a charge, and people used to literally try to run through me. And they would end up falling backwards on their back to the ground. And everybody else would laugh. But I would look at them and I'd say, hey, running into me is like running into a brick wall. Now, why am I telling you this? Well, because it got to the point where people were afraid that, because I don't know my own strength at times, so they were afraid that I was going to foul them and I was going to actually hurt them, which nobody ever got hurt with me on a basketball court. So I let them have that stupidity. So I started bringing my own ball. Brand new leather ball, the one that barely has ever seen the ground, never touched the ground, but I wasn't afraid of it touching the ground. Everybody else would keep their brand new balls at home, only play with them in the gym. No, I brought mine outside, because if it messes up, I'll give it away and go get another one, because that's what I did. But when I brought my ball, I played by their rules. But when I have my ball, I'm in control of my ball, no one else. So when I walk into the court, it's my case. The judge, this is not the judge's case, and it's not his courtroom. Because I'm not going to give him that ability. By the way, that might be the word. That might be the word, court. But you know what? Court is not their word, so it can't be that word. Because in the book of Daniel, the 7th chapter, it says that the court took its seat. So that's not the first time court was used. So court can't be their word. So it cannot be a legalese word, so I can't give them that. So I'm thinking that that was another way to which they have locked us in. But we know that there is a such thing as a common law venue. All right, that was another subject. I was getting off another subject for a minute, but let me just finish where I was going with all of this. All of you need to understand one thing. In order for you to effectuate your money orders, you have to know what you're doing. So you have to understand Unicitral. Go back and look at the videos on the money orders, the hour style money orders. They're still up on the internet. I haven't taken them down. And understand the understanding. After you read just the first 10 pages of Unicitral, you'll understand exactly what it's talking about. When I did the July 7th, 2012 video, I showed people the new money order where I put on there that I was a foreign state and it was a foreign estate, and I put the address and so forth. Ladies and gentlemen, it was only because it complied with the international Unicitral requirements for International Bill of Exchange that it has to be from one foreign state to another foreign state. Now, how did I get this? Because I actually read a court case where a judge ruled that. See, a lot of people are going, well, they ruled that you can't do this. And you're not looking at the reason why they ruled it. See, this guy, his document the judge said that his document was worthless. And if you look at some of the highlighted text, you would think that he didn't have the right to write a bill of exchange. But when you read the case, you see that the judge said he didn't have that right because he did not indicate what the foreign state was. So I indicate what the foreign state is. And I indicate all the other 4 elements that are required on that instrument. Because I know who I am. You guys saw The Matrix. Remember when Neo first walks into the Oracle's kitchen? And she says, it'll be ready in just one moment. I would offer you a seat, but you're not going to sit down anyway. Oh, and don't worry about the vase. What vase? I'm so sorry. And then he looks up at the sign above the door, and she says it's Latin for know thyself. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I've known about that Latin phrase since I was probably 10 years old. And when I was 10, I didn't fully understand it, but by the time I was 15, I understood who I was. May not have reached the point of where I am now, of knowing who I am and being who I am and liking who I am, but I knew who I was, and I know who I am now. And when I write these instruments, I don't write them as a debtor, as a slave, as a servant, as a resident, as an entity, as a fiction, as a collective entity, as a corporation, as an individual, as a person. I write them as me, because I know how I feel. So let me continue, ladies and gentlemen. That is what this whole grouping is supposed to be about. Showing people how to take side routes. Now, sorry, I got my light on and the little buggies want to come to the light. Come to the light, Caroline! Anyway, that's what this whole Skype group was supposed to be about. About showing people how to take side routes to get their points across. About showing them how to get remedy. I hope this makes sense to some of you. Then it says, for some of you who've been trying to private email me or Skype hasn't been working efficiently. And here it is, December 16th, and I'm getting posts from November 29th. Seeing it for the very first time. I've updated Skype and it seems to be working correctly. Now it's one of those it's about time situation. Okay, I gotta go finish updating my site. Have a good day, everyone. So I'm gonna get rid of this. I don't need to save this junk. Now we're gonna talk about Skype. And now I'm gonna conclude the music, ladies and gentlemen. I know while I was talking, many of you literally forgot that that music was playing in the background. Because for a moment there, I forgot it was playing in the background. There won't be any more music playing in the background for the rest of this video, because I need to, even though I have my Microsoft Windows Media Player up, I'm going to leave the music off for the rest of this video so we can explain to you about the Skype group. The first 26 individuals, people, persons, I don't give a... The first 26 who sends me an email to Jehuah, J-E-H, U-A-H. J as in James, E as in Edward, H as in Henry, U as in Uncle, A as in Albert, H as in Henry, at yahoo.com. The first 26 people will be given an opportunity to request to be added to the Skype group so that I can keep track of each of you, because I'll be receiving so many requests in Skype that I won't be accepting that. You will get a, like we did with all of our events, a specific code which will be randomized, so there won't be any way to duplicate the code. You'll be given a specific code for which you can access my Skype address asking to be added, and I will make sure that our webmaster for the site adds you. Now, we have to give you the ground rules. We place those on redressright.org. Roughly right around the top, I think it's number 7 at the top, but it tells you what the rules are for the group. There is no criticizing another member, no cursing, no, how would you say, we don't mind debates, but straight out arguing will not be permitted. This is it wasn't at first, but it will be an active participation group. We're going to say every 45 days there has to be some input. For the people who go more than 2 months without input, we just remove them. There's no warning. Several people got removed because they were leeches. They were just there to get information, but they were not there to give their input, to give their successes, to ask questions. We cannot grow without those questions. But we were almost 200 members, and I put a stop when I saw we were getting close to 200 members. I didn't want to be like those other groups out there that have 4,000 or 5,000 members. I don't, man, what for? We're going to keep it succinct. So this will give us roughly almost 100 members. Almost. The other unique thing about this particular Skype group is every member of the Redress Commission will be a part of this group. We'll be adding them as members. That's why we're only allowing 26 individuals to be entered into the group. Okay? The information about the commission will be coming out very soon, so I ask that you all be patient with us. The website will have some PDF information that is not on the redressright.org PDF site. So give me a moment. I'll be talking with the webmaster. We're still working on the details of the site because we want to keep it innovative, fresh, and it's a little bit different, which is with my site. You saw the software that I have. I just put the information in there and I upload it to the internet. But with the other, it takes programming. And so let's just say he's doing a very good job. It's myself, because of so many things going on, that there's been a delay. So the Skype group, the other issues with the Skype group is, as you saw, individuals like to get off subject from time to time. From time to time, we've ignored that in the past. But if it continues to happen, those individuals will be blocked where they can only view. They will not be able to participate. And nobody really did anything that was outlandish there, so we're not sticklers for nitpicking. That's not our job. But we've had some conversations. People were putting in posts from their site or advertising somebody else's site. That is not permitted. We're not here to advertise somebody's talk show, not here to advertise somebody's website. If the information is pertinent to debt correction and credit acquisition, if it is pertinent to those two specific topics, because that's all this group talks about, is debt correction and credit acquisition. And that means all of the subjects associated with those two. See, people think debt collection only talks about debt collection. Well, you saw we were just talking about how usufruct, how you interfere and intercede and interact with the system. That's what this is all about, showing you how to access the system. And yes, that does deal with credit correction, debt correction, and credit acquisition. So it can take on many forms, and we're not looking for people to nitpick and get too nitty-gritty and all that stuff. Okay? So the first 26 individuals who are not part of the group, who would like to be added to the group, and do not send me a request for 2 people from the same email, I will not add either of you in that case. Every person must be responsible for their own actions. So if you have a friend, then they need to do it themselves. You cannot do it for them. This is 26. So let's just say I will give it until December 19th. Because I know that I'll have more than 26 before December 19th, 2012. But this video, because the other information is pertinent, will remain up, and I will not take this video down. So if it's after December 19th, 12 p.m. Eastern time, then it's too late. And if you email me at that address, it's okay, because I don't check it in the first place. It's just a reserved email address. I got 17 of them. Just did it just to be doing it. Y'all know, y'all got 6 or 7 email addresses, some you ain't never used in 5,000 years. Well, that's the same thing we do in here. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I explained to you that I had articulated to the group something in such a profound way that I thought they would get it. So let me see if I can articulate it a little bit better without reading a script. The government said these people can't function without direction. They're lost. So we need to do something to help them. But what can we do? The laws prohibit us from exercising authority over them. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to create a shadow. We're going to give them a shadow. And this shadow is going to follow them around. A shadow? What do you mean by a shadow? You know, when you walk around, there's a shadow that follows you? Well, yeah. Well, we're going to give them a shadow. How can you give them a shadow? How can you create a shadow? Okay. They created a shadow for you. They called it a legal person, a legal fiction, a corporation, a collective entity, a legal entity, a individual. They gave it all of those other stupid names so that you would never be able to identify it. And then somebody came up with the name Straw Man. The courts didn't come up with that name. Someone else did. But nonetheless, that's your shadow. Wherever I go, he goes, my buddy, my buddy. Okay, so look at it as your shadow. Okay, you are not your shadow. Your shadow is not you. It is a usufruct. So what happens with your shadow at night? It disappears. That's called private time. Because usually at night you're in your private home with the lights off and you sleep and it's nighttime. So ladies and gentlemen, private time. Okay? But during the day, in commerce, your shadow is there. And you can't avoid him. You try to get rid of him. You try to get in the shade and he still shows up, even in the shade. Because you cannot operate in commerce or during the day without a usufruct, a conduit, an extension. You need a puppet. You need a teddy bear. And so they gave you one. Well, how do I get control? You never lost control. You've always had control. Wait, I thought you just said they created that for me. No, 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 no. They just created the understanding. They didn't create it. Don't you understand? Just because they give something all caps, that doesn't mean they created the all caps name. How come people are not getting this? Because they put it in all caps, that doesn't mean they created the all caps name. And I keep hearing people, well, they created the all caps name. They didn't create anything, ladies and gentlemen. They didn't have the power or authority to create that. But what they did is they created a mechanism for you to utilize that apparatus. And that's all it is an apparatus. Just like a person who have had their leg amputated. They use crutches. Or they might use a wheelchair. That apparatus is utilized to help them navigate through society, through the course of their day. Well, they gave you a shadow to help you navigate because you were handicapped. No, I wasn't handicapped. Yes, you were. You did not have a medium of exchange in order to communicate with them. A medium of exchange? That's right. A medium of exchange. See, you didn't have a way of communicating with the system because the system was blind. It couldn't see you. Well, if the system is blind, can I operate around it? Well, you can try to operate around the system. Many are trying it right now, but they're having a very difficult time because the system is everywhere. So how can you operate around air? Well, you can't because you need air to breathe. Well, then you cannot do much in this world without interacting with their system. But it doesn't mean that because you interact with it, you become a victim or a slave to the system. Oh, I don't want to be a slave to anything. Okay, so let me tell you what you do. Get yourself a better understanding of things. First, currency. There is no currency in the United States. Oh, yes, there is. I'm told checks are currency, money orders. No. You're misunderstanding the term currency. When I'm using the term currency, I'm talking about a medium of exchange. Well, checks are mediums. No, they're not. What are you exchanging it for? There is nothing of substance backing any of those items that you just mentioned. So it's not a medium of exchange. Go back and look at Butler versus Thompson. If you don't believe me, go back and look at Butler versus Thompson. What the Supreme Court had to say as far as the value of legal tender. It says that the law knows no difference between a paper dollar and a coin dollar. It says, sure, in a market, it has value. So notice what the Supreme Court said, and that has not changed. It has nothing to do with HJR 192. They took gold out of the system as a result of HJR. That has nothing to do with it. It has everything to do with the fact today, not back in 1933, but today, there is no medium of exchange. Well, what do you mean? What can we do? Well, we have something greater than gold and silver. Wait a minute. What's greater than gold and silver? Our credit. Well, I don't have good credit. Oh, yes, you do. No, I don't have good credit. My score is like 200. What score? The score that they give me at the credit bureaus. You listen to the credit bureaus? The credit bureaus don't have no authority or power. Wait, what you talking about? Well, according to the United States, there's a law, public law, 93.224. That law says that the United States government borrows from you, and as a result of that borrowing, it's able to conduct business. But it borrows from you based on your full faith and credit. Amazing! So they're letting you know that they have full faith and credit. And if you don't believe me, type in Google, full faith and credit, and you'll see that the United States has full faith and credit. Now, if they have full faith and credit, where did they get it from? Well, the 9th and 10th Amendment says they get it from the people. Wait a minute. So they get full faith and credit from the people? So that means when you engage in commerce, you are engaging under full faith and credit. But remember, Full faith and credit comes with being in honor. So for people out there trying to get 15 cars, 26 motorcycles, and things like that, you're not acting in honor. And I'm not going to explain to you all over again what the difference between a need and a want is. You have to go talk to somebody else about that because I ain't got time. I've already done it too many times. So when I wrote what we referred to or termed as the hour-style money orders, I was only using my full faith and credit. And yes, I was using my full faith and credit to pay off somebody else's mortgage because they had no concept of this. Is that legal? Yes, because I was acting in honor. I was assisting with a collective entity that I had power of attorney for. The same thing I can do with these mortgages here, and I'm going to articulate that in a court case. And I have no problem articulating this because, as you understand, I have a basic understanding of what I'm doing, and that's all you need to have. I paused there for a moment so that you can get it, because I really can't explain it better than what I just did. The government created a shadow for you. It almost looks like the shadow you see when you're walking. And it follows you wherever you go, whether you have it as a piece of paper, as a document, anything. Every time you write it on a piece of paper, that's your shadow. That's your straw man. Even when I write my autograph, that's correct. Because you're acting as the Usufruct, the agent for that straw person, that fiction. Because your shadow is a fiction. Well, how's my shadow a fiction? Well, because you create it. When you step out into the sunlight, you create it. Well, no, the sun creates it because the sun shines. No, stop it. You create it because if you had not walked out into the sunlight or walked into the light of anything, the shadow would not exist. So they did not create the fiction. You did. By your simply existing, you create the fiction. You don't believe me? Well, I sat up there and did a name change. Now, I did a name change from a name change that had never been officially the name. I just created it. People, I have created 4 names in my lifetime. And I have had licenses and IDs for those 4 names. I have 3 social security numbers. And I'm not afraid to admit this because they know it. I've been playing with the system for years because they are not the ones creating this. I am. Without me, the system doesn't function. Okay, we're going to narrow this down because you see how much time we've expended on this. So we're going to narrow this down one last time. I explained it to the individuals when I was in jail. Yes, like I told many of you. I was in jail. And I sat up there and I watched how at 6 o'clock in the morning these guys were getting up, getting showers, going to breakfast, and by 7:30, 8 o'clock, they were all off to work. Now, some of them would get up at 4:30 to get up to go to work in the kitchen and places like that. And I was watching how many of them would go out there and they'd be sweeping the yard and picking up trash. And I'm like, wait a minute, people. You guys are in jail. What are you doing being slaves? Well, we get paid. How much are you getting paid? Well, I get 5 cents, but he over there, that job right there, they pay that job 10 cents an hour. And he's getting 7 cents. 7, 10, 5. What the? Are you guys working for cents for an hour? And then I started watching because I am an observer. I love the TV show Fringe because they have these guys called the observers. I'm an observer. I just stand back and I watch. If you don't believe me, ask anybody who knows me. They'll tell you how I sit back and I analyze everything. I noticed that there were 400 so-called inmates, technically 399 because they were never allowed to call me an inmate because I was nobody's inmate. Don't care what the definition for the word was. You were not going to give me a label. Giving me a label was like calling me a nigger or whatever other title you wanted to affix. I wasn't going to allow it. But let's continue. The situation being there were 400 individuals that were being supervised by 24 given individuals at one time, and the 400 were being divided between 4 different facilities. Now, you guys don't understand what I'm trying to say here. 4 different facilities, all attached to each other, like 4 different baseball diamonds attached to each other, and you have the middle where, all the home plates are right next to each other. Well, that's how the facilities were. And all of the jails were right next to each other in the same fashion of a baseball diamond. And there were 28 officers guarding those 400 inmates at one given time. And some various other staff from the community to help in, medical field and the kitchen and things like that. But let's just say the inmates had the control. If the inmates stopped everything, if they just stopped, of course they would have been locked down. Of course they would have lost some stupid privilege. But they would have gained everything else afterwards, because the prison system makes a killing and nobody pays attention. Well, let's equate that to our system right now. Without us, the system can't function. Now go and look at all the other videos. I guarantee you, go look at every single other video, and they're not telling you what I'm telling you tonight. They're not even explaining it to you like this. Everybody else wants you to believe that you have no control. You have all the control in the world, because you are the one who is the authorized agent for your fiction. It is yours. They did not create it. Well, no, yes, they did. They created it. I have the law right here that says they created it. People, I keep hearing people say that. There's a law that says they created it. Where's the affidavit? A law does not stand as fact in law. A law can be overturned for being unconstitutional, for violating the equal protection of law clause, for violating the due process of law clause. So I don't want to hear nobody talk about they read it in some law that they created this and they created that. The law is not an affidavit. What do you mean it's not an affidavit? Because an affidavit has to say that one is signing it under the penalty of perjury and or something to that effect, and that they are attesting to the information contained therein. Congress doesn't do that. Don't believe me? Go back and look at the laws enacted by Congress. It just says being enacted by Congress. And where does Congress get the power and authority to enact laws? From the people. Really? Then that means that none of it operates or exists without you. You are the 400 inmates on the yard. Congress, military, president, those are the 28 officers. All you got to do is sit back and think. So, what I decided to do one day is I just said, I'm not going to play anymore. I'm not joking with any of you. I literally said, I'm not going to play this game anymore. And that's when I started not playing the game. I started manipulating the game. Manipulation is a unique tool. Learned that from my parents. Didn't learn it from me. I learned that from my parents because that's what they did to discipline me. Yep, they used my conscience against me. Yeah. Ignorant mother. Okay, anyway. Ladies and gentlemen, this last part that's done without the music, I would suggest you go back and listen to it at least 3 times so that you can get it. Once you get it, then start acting your role. Go and look up usufruct. Okay, understand, I know it sounds like it's a bad word, and I've been saying it like it's a good word. It is a very good word. And like Dean Clifford said, I wish he would have expounded on the word a little bit more. But like Dean Clifford said, it is a word you should Come to know. Usufruct. Yeah, it just means that you are utilizing access to something that normally people wouldn't have access to. And you're the only one who is authorized to have access to that account. And you are the only one who can deauthorize someone to have access to that account. Okay? So, let's start acting and presenting ourselves in a manner as we know who we are. We've already established our standing. Now let's start standing on our foundation, as Taj Tariq Bey would say. We've already established our status. I've studied Cambridge and Hamlet. Sorry, Hamlet and Cambridge. I actually said it that way on purpose, but then I said no, they wouldn't get it. But anyway, our status and our standing is everything to these idiots, because it's all usufruct. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to us here at the Legal Redress Commission at redressright.org, Redress Right Organization, and the Legal Redress Commission at redressright.com, and the Redress Right Organization at redress.right on Skype, as well as Redress Right at the youtube.com/user/Redress Right. And the email address at redressucc@gmail.com. Ladies and gentlemen, no more questions will be answered at Redress Right. redressucc@gmail.com. And we were aiming for 300 individuals introduced to the lawsuit. We're now going to keep it down to something like 60. We have a total of 30, and we're going to put the deadline January 20th. Why did we drop it by so much? Because we don't need to be bombarded with that many people at one time. That's too much for us as an organization, and we want to free our hands up, and we want to keep the pool low, same as what we're doing with the Redress Right, the Redress Update Contact Group on Skype. The same exact thing, keeping it low so it can be manageable. Okay, I thought 300 was a good number, but we're not trying to get over. And if you want to know more about the lawsuit, just go to the YouTube channel and look up Mass Action. It's one of the last 7 videos, at least 2 videos done on it. And we'll do another video as we come close to filing the suit. We will not post the suit online, nor will we tell you the locations where the suit will be filed. Why? Because we don't want anybody duplicating the actions or messing it up for the group. Okay, so when it gets filed, you will not hear about it. Just that simple. It's just the way it's going to be. Thank you once again, everybody, for allowing me in your homes. And I say please, please, please have a safe and wonderful day. I just remembered one last thing. I was just going to click that button and I said, hold up, you got one more thing to mention. I was talking to someone about the shooting that happened in, I believe it was Connecticut. Not sure of if that's the correct state, because I don't watch the news. But I do know about it because it was brought to my attention. 28 people killed, 22 of them being children or something to that effect. First of all, there have been 3 shootings of elementary schools. We heard about it earlier this year in China and then again in Germany. But when was the last time you saw someone go into an elementary school and just shoot a bunch of children in the United States? Somebody wants someone to be pulling on heartstrings. Although I think it is extremely tragic to take someone's life, especially those young people who had nothing to do with what was going on, have no idea what was going on. I do not believe that it was some young man mad at his mother because she had an argument with him. Could somebody tell me where in the did that idiot get the gun that he used to kill 28 people in the first place? His mother is supposedly, and I don't know this to be true or false or anything, but it's just my thinking. If she is a school teacher, what's she doing with a Glock? Because it must have been a semi-automatic pistol. Had to have been. So why does she have that? And who trained her? Do you understand what I'm saying? This is a teenager. Where did he get that gun from? He's not from South Central Los Angeles. Where did he get the money to buy it? There's a lot of unanswered questions here. There's a lot of things that the media is not going to talk about. But I guarantee you, he was receiving psychiatric care of some sort through some organization. But I do not believe this was some random thing where some child got angry at mommy and daddy, because it doesn't make sense. And if it doesn't make logic, it doesn't make sense. So I say to the rest of you, again, that's why I don't watch the news. Because if you listen to the news, hey, they're going to tell you what the truth is. But if you just sit back and analyze it for yourself and break it down, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Serial killers do not kill children. Not on a massive scale like that. Even individuals who molest children do not go out and molest 26 different children. They know better. Do you understand? Most people, even your serial killers, know that children are off limits. So this kid killing 26 kids, babies in essence, that doesn't make any sense. Nobody in their right mind would do something like that. Just like the kid in China was supposed to have some argument with somebody and then go and kill all these elementary school kids. Ladies and gentlemen, the same story? Why? Why is it the exact same story and we didn't hear this story 8 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago? Columbine, high school. High school. They could have killed a lot more people if they went to an elementary. But you notice it didn't even cross their mind. Because morally, subconsciously, it's off limits. So why would this kid, and I don't want emails about this, I'm just letting you know how I analyze things, and it doesn't make sense. And there is no rationale for it, because nobody in their right mind would do such a thing. And don't sit up here and think that this kid wasn't in his right mind, other than the fact that something else was going on here, something else that we're not being told. It is just that simple. And I know it's on every news channel, and I know they're talking about it 24 hours a day, but there was something else they talked about 24 hours a day and told people what the truth was, and I think it was called 9/11. So I simply don't believe the stupidity. And I really do deeply feel for each of those families, because these were children. That means that there were at least 5 people affected by every single death of every single child in that arena. At least 5. And the adults, at least 3 that were deeply and gravely affected by that experience. And so just multiply the numbers, and that's how many people were truly suffering, because they knew the individuals firsthand. So I'm really deeply sorry that such a thing happened, but I do not for one instant believe that this is a random thing where this particular child got mad at mommy and decided to go shoot up this place. Just like in California, just before I left LA, I remembered that there was a high-speed chase. And I'm just now driving through LA, and I think this is 2007. I'm not sure, because I know I'm just now leaving LA and I don't know where I'm going. But I'm at my brother's house. I just heard the police going down the street, speeding. I mean, they're really taking off and blocking the street, and they're doing at least 60 miles an hour on a regular street. And I find that a sheriff officer had been shot because he went to serve a warrant, and the guy who he was serving the warrant on, according to the story, shot the sheriff officer in the head and killed him. Okay, so they do a high-speed chase. They go looking for the guy. Helicopters out and everything, and they find him. And then they show footage of the guy being put into the car after being arrested. He's bleeding. He's got black marks all over his face. He's limping. His clothes are torn, which means that before or after the cuffs were put on, somebody did some butt kicking. Well, sad to say, 6 hours later, that young man hung himself in his cell at the Twin Towers in Los Angeles. Ladies and gentlemen, I've had an opportunity of being in the Twin Towers when I pissed an officer off by stopping in the middle of the freeway when he put his lights on me. And let's say that that's a modern jail. Okay, I remember when it was built, they talked about it so much. It's called Twin Towers, ladies and gentlemen. Twin Towers is an anti-suicide facility. In other words, you cannot hang yourself in the cell. But the news report said that this man hung himself in his cell. What did he do? There are no shoelaces. What did he tie it to? So I just want you to understand, they will tell us anything. They will tell us anything. But when you sit back and you think about it, and if you know, most people don't know Twin Towers because they've never been there. So they'll believe the story. Old grandmama and old grandpa, the old voters, they've never been to Twin Towers, so they don't know the difference. So when the news say the guy hung himself, well, he probably was afraid of what's going to happen to him, get the death penalty or going to jail for the rest of his life. No. Why would he kill himself? He just ran from the police. They had a high-speed chase, and they had all these officers in a helicopter looking for this man because why? He was trying to stay alive. And then he kills himself after all of that fighting? And ladies and gentlemen, please. That's why I don't listen to the news, because I know that they're lying. Not every single story, but the majority, of course, because they have to sway opinion. They have to do things for the public interest because of public policy. So, sorry, that's my 15-minute tidbit on all of this stuff. About 15 minutes now. Want to thank you again. Ladies and gentlemen, don't want to have a discussion on email or eBay or what's that, Avon coming to my house talking about all of this stuff. I was just giving an opinion. That's all. Have a good day. Have a good night. Take care, people.
Honey, is this thing on? Hello? Is there anybody out there? Oh, that's kind of catchy.